We are honored to have here also the chair of Fondazione Cariplo, Giovanni Fosti, who also hosts us here in this Meet Center. Good morning, buongiorno, Sir Fosti.
Buongiorno, good morning. May I start?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Good morning, and it's an honor for us to be co-host with the F20 of this important moment of reflection and discussion on a topic that is currently so crucial. I wish to thank Minister Giovannini for his words. We shed a light on this challenge we are having to face. The topic of today's discussion allows me to present some of the most crucial aspects of the climate crisis and transition that inform Fondazione Cariplo's approach. Those of a just transition and of taking climate action starting from our communities. The evidence that not even the 7% reduction in CO2 emissions during the pandemic could reduce the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, and the striking results of the 6th IPCC report make it undeniable that we need to take durable and structural actions to address climate change. These actions, however, need to be just. In this time of great transformation and of digital revolution, we must ask ourselves how we can create a green transition that takes into account the social impacts that will inevitably emerge as its consequences. In order to carry out a real transformation, we need to consider its social impacts, because if it is not sustainable in all its aspects, it will be neither just nor feasible. A just transition must take into account the undeniable differences in the ways in which the phenomenon of climate change and the green transition impact different sections of our society. Indeed, today, I would like to emphasize the relationship between social inequalities and climate change, not just across countries, but also within countries such as Italy. Poverty and climate change act in a vicious cycle. Inequality results in disadvantaged groups being disproportionately affected by the adverse effects of climate change, which in turn exacerbates their inequalities, propagating them even further. Thus, not only the effects of climate change will impact quicker and more intensely disadvantaged groups, but they will also create new ones. In fact, the World Bank estimates that without immediate action, climate change could push 120 million more people, if not more, into poverty by 2030. This is not only true in developing countries, but it is a reality across the world, as proven by research published on nature and by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. As the work of Fondazione Cariplo exemplifies, I suggest that we need to keep in mind this relationship when we think and especially implement the green transition, because those very people that are and will be most impacted by climate change are also often excluded when thinking the actions taken to protect them. Disadvantaged groups are indeed deprived of the agency to design and actively participate in the green transition. As the most vulnerable are left to the immobile actors in this process, the solutions that we design might end up having the effects of exacerbating their disadvantage. An example is that of energy poverty, which often stems from low income and affects 2.3 million families across Italy. Since the beginning of 2021, there has been an increase of more than 500% in actions to increase energy efficiency in our country, but those interventions have affected mostly wealthier families, proceeding very slowly in public housing and in the poor areas of our cities. The green transition can be an incredible catalyst to reduce deeply rooted inequalities and contribute to tackle societal issues. This potential can only be realized if the transition puts social agenda at the forefront, and most importantly, if it is thought with and for our communities. Moreover, we have to act by creating alliances among our communities, because only by creating cooperating networks we can empower our communities to take meaningful actions. This assumption is at the core of F2C Fondazione Cariplo per il Clima project and its call Strategia Clima. The project has started its work in 4 cities, focusing on creating an alliance between the public, parks, and the third sector with a very concrete approach consisting of adaptation, mitigation, and reviewing urban planning instruments. This is only a best practice example. The inclusion of the most disadvantaged in our transition and the focus on uniting our communities needs to become systemic for those addressing climate change, and our foundations can be the actor pushing for this essential turn to climate justice. I thank Fondazione Unipolis, Fondazione Compagnia di San Paolo, e Fondazione Comunità di Messina. I also want to thank Assifero, Asvis, and Acri for their support, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Grazie, Professor Fosti. Thank you so much. And we know how much Fondazione Cariplo is active on these all different aspects, especially, for example, on the land here in the territory of Milan, but also in Lombardy. And it's right what you said, we need a circuit breaker in this vicious cycle between climate change, inequalities, poverty. These are some of the aspects we're going to discuss with the keynote speaker and our panel this morning.